Hello everyone, this is Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing another itty bitty knit kit that I got from Five Below, and this one is Madame Croissant. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in, and for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit the like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are going to be working on Madame Croissant. This one is very cute to me just because I love croissants. They're very bad for you. Anytime you mix dough and butter, it can't be great, but it tastes wonderful. So if you've never tried a croissant before, please do so before creating this little lady here, because you're gonna feel bad that, you know, you just ate one of her friends or relatives or something. But anyway, let's check out what we have here. I've been doing a number of these kits, and I know that I've been getting a lot of requests to do the new kits, and I have not found them yet. So I really suggest that if you don't want to wait for a video to come out, I highly recommend that you take a really clear picture of the instruction and just send me an email. It's in my about section or in any of these videos. You just check the description box below. And I'll be able to help you out with that. I feel so bad sometimes because I can only search online and search through the stores, and I do eventually find them. It's got to take me a bit to get them, especially if it's via online. You have to wait for shipping, but if I physically go in person and it's not there, it's not there. So anywho's, let's see what's in this box. We have the stuffing, we have some felt stickers, a plastic needle, we have our spool of yarn, and we have 2 needles. Very simple. I love this. I'm very curious to see how they're gonna have this have us sew the croissant and make it look like a croissant, because they always start with a rectangle and then you just sew it together. So let's see. Now you guys, this video is a supplement to the instructions. If you want to make this yourself, I highly recommend that you go get the kit at Five Below or check on their website. It always varies from state to state, so you never know, and store to store even. I go over new stitches, and there's only 1 stitch on here, 3 times step by step, and then I go my normal pace. So I highly recommend that you get this booklet, this kit, if you really want to make this croissant, because, you know, there's no other way. But anyways, here are the felt stickers. How cute is that? And it comes with a beret. They have it sticking out like this, but I don't like how the sticker is fully on the whole thing, because if you have it stick up, then you're gonna have this left sticky. What you could do is, once you find a nice place to stick on, you can take like an X-Acto knife, not children over 8, and slice part of this backing so that you keep one side of the backing on, the rest to stick onto the croissant. And you can do something like that, but we'll talk about that once we get there. And then here's the plastic needle. Always keep your tools. You never know if you're ever going to need them again. I'm just going to put this back in here so that we don't lose or make any of these materials dirty with debris from whatever, you know, dust, what have you. And then here's the spool of yarn. We're lucky. This is 2 times in a row already that I've received spools that have a little tail, but you just want to make sure that the other end of it, like this end, is the true outside end, because I do not like to pull from the outside. As you know, I like to pull it from the inside so that you can put a little weight on here and then just continue to pull without having the spool roll around. But I clearly see that this end piece here that I'm trailing is definitely the outside yarn, so we just got really lucky this time. Normally you would go in there and you would pluck out a decent amount of yarn, you'll use it up anyway, and then you can have a nice continuous pull that's much easier than trailing your yarn here about, especially if you have like pets that think that this rolling spool is a toy. All right, 2 needles. Love these. These are always hit or miss, because if you find that some of these needles have a little this is probably where they pour in the plastic to solidify in the mold. So if you feel it, it's a little rough. Believe it or not, if you get yarn near here, it's going to pull it and it's going to fray your yarn. So if you find that is the case, I would go ahead and get like a really fine grit file and just file even this. Actually, you know what? Because I also do nails sometimes, I'm just going to take my file and I'm just going to file down that little pointy edge. And listen, if you care much about having it be scuffed, I mean, I don't know, you can figure out paints or solutions to go over that, but I'd rather have it smooth. So this is getting so much better. So it's not going to snag my yarn, and while I'm going fast, I don't have to stop because it accidentally pulled my yarn. All right, so just make sure that your needles are nice and smooth. All right, as far as the instructions go, every beginning of this instructions is the same. It shows you how to make each movement to make this croissant, and these are probably universal. They have lefty and righty too, which I think is great. Believe it or not, I am a lefty, but I've done so many righty videos that I feel very uncomfortable knitting lefty now. It's crazy. And then at the end it shows the instructions, but what's really cool about this, you guys, is that it gives you a ruler, so you don't have to go get one. They have one built in. All right, so let's get straight into this. Now, if you need to speed up or slow down the video, click on the gear button here. You can go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. All right, so let's get into this. I'm gonna go grab the yarn here, and then we're gonna go get the amount of yarn that the instruction is asking for, and you just use their ruler like this to kind of measure it out. Okay, keep a pinch. I can set this aside. And today we're doing just one rectangle, so that's always great. Now you want to maintain this pinch because that's going to be the tail length that you need. And I'm going to pull the tail down my desk here so it's out of the way. I'm going to put the spool up top as my feeder yarn, so that that's out of the way as well. So I'm just going to switch my hands twice, once and then twice again, so that I'm pinching under, because I'm going to need my middle and ring finger to hold apart the yarn like this. So keep this very tight and this a little bit loose. Then you're going to take your 2 fingers here and you're just going to lift up on the yarn and you're going to turn it down to make this loop. Then we're going to go grab the feeder yarn with our index and middle finger and just pull that through the loop. So you have this situation here. What you want to do is tighten up that loop, and to do so we're just going to start pulling on one side of the yarn, and we want to pull this knot close to the thumb. So keep pulling. I'm pulling this, right? So keep pulling on the yarn to where you get a knot, and I guess push it as far as you can close to that thumb. Once you get to this point where it's tight enough, you could just tighten up a little bit more. So we're going to take this tail and we're going to pull it just a little bit more. You're going to feel a little give, and then you don't have to like pull it too tightly. You just want that knot nice and snug. But now we have this huge loop here, so what you're going to want to do is grip the knot kind of snug as well, and then you're going to start pulling the feeder yarn. Don't pull the tail, pull the feeder yarn. So pull the feeder yarn to where you make a more manageable loop for your needle to slip through. Okay, like this. Then we can put our needle through that loop and we're ready to start the show. All right, let me just grab some yarn here. Oops. Well, that's not gonna work. Hold on a second. All right, I totally flicked. I totally flicked my hand too far and I flung the needle off the table. Okay. I love this color yarn. It's definitely gonna look like a croissant, I think. So I like to put a lot of yarn on my finger. You don't have to. There's daintier ways of doing this, more functional ways. This is just how I do it. All right, and then we're gonna take this other yarn here, this other needle, and we're gonna slip that through the loop as well. So we have these two needles. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into our knitting position. So a knit stitch is the only stitch that this kit uses, which I think is great because it's a lot of practice and it's a lot of kits. So once you get done with one, the next one should get easier, and then the next one gets easier. It's the same stitch repeated over and over again. So let me show you how to cast on the stitches onto your needle. This is the number of stitches that's in the instructional book, and I'm going to do step by step how to do at least 3 of them. So when you do a knit stitch, your initial stance for a knit stitch is crossing your knitting needles in an X. Now when you do a knit stitch specifically, you want to have your left needle on top and your right needle on the bottom, and you always want to have this X. So another tip for knitting is that you always want your needles touching. And I know these are round, and I know that in any case when you put 2 round pieces together touching, there's only a minimal amount of surface touching, but you're going to want that to always touch. So just a little close up, always keep your needles touching no matter what. Well, with the exception of having to put yarn through it. But anyway, so in the knit stitch, what we're going to do is your yarn always wants to be on the back. In some other cases, in other stitches, you might have the yarn in the front, but for a knit stitch, make sure that your yarn's in the back. So when we do a knit stitch, we're going to do a yarn over, and a yarn over looks like this. We're going to go back to front and down around the right needle, and you're going to either feel or hear a little snap because we're touching these 2 needles together and we're pulling this yarn down. And I don't know if you heard that little snap, but you want to get it into this little cradle here, this little space. Okay, and again, you want your needles always touching so that you don't lose that. And you see what's going to happen here? We're going to get this feeder yarn through this loop. So what you want to do is slide your left needle over your right needle, always touching the needle. So slide your left needle down the right. It's going to force that feeder yarn through that loop, and we're going to slide it back the right needle. And you see what I'm talking about? It forced that feeder yarn through the loop. So now we have 2 loops here. What do? Okay, we want to put the new stitches onto the left needle. So you're going to take your left needle now. You can hold your stitches back with your thumb. Just stick your needle into that stitch on the right needle and then just pull it off the left. So you should have 2 stitches now. Let me show you this again. Now we're going to take the new stitch we have created and stick your right needle in there and get into your X position again. So in your knit position, we're going to X the needles. You want your left needle on top of the right needle. And again, we're going to yarn over. So in a knit stitch, your yarn must be at the back. So you want to go back to front around the right needle and then down in between these needles. You're going to hear or feel a snap. Okay, so now it's in there, in that little cavity. Then we're going to slide the left needle down the right and the back, and it's going to force that feeder yarn through the loop. And so now you have a new stitch created, but we have to throw that up onto the left needle like that. And we're going to pull that off the right needle. So now you have 3 stitches. Let's do this one more time, you guys. So stick your right needle into the new stitch we've created. Get into your knit stance. Left needle in front of the right needle. Your yarn should be in the back. We're going to go back to front over the right needle and then down. You're going to hear or feel a snap. And then we're going to slide the left needle over the right needle, forcing the feeder yarn through that loop like that. And now we created a new stitch. So let's throw this stitch onto the left needle. So take your left needle, go through that new stitch, and then lift it off the right needle. So now here we have 4 stitches. So if you need to go back, rewind and watch this so that you can create the rest of the stitches required for this first piece of instructions, I'm going to go ahead and continue doing the required stitches, and then we'll come back and do the next steps. So while we're here, I wanted to take this opportunity to mention that in my original channel, I do have a special giveaway going on. I actually have craft viewers like yourself on that channel. I'm trying to split off into this one at some point when I get enough subscribers, but till then I have both of these videos and nail videos on that channel. So if you want to hop over and check that out, I'm going to leave my link in the description box below. But I am holding a special giveaway. It's an 18-week NFL season giveaway. You pretty much pick every Tuesday through Wednesday what team is going to win out of the nails I create. And whoever has the most correct picks will win at the end of the season. The voting will be closed at the end of Wednesday night Eastern time, and you vote every week until then. So it could be anybody's game. You have to be a publicly subscribed member, but there'll be 1 nail winner and 1 craft winner, and for the craft winner, they're going to be winning a bunch of goodies as well as a gift card, and then an hour session via a StreamYard where I'll show projects, and you can as well have this set up if you can, something like this at your wherever you do it, and you can show me what you're working on and where you're getting stuck. I think that's just a great way to kind of learn if you're a beginner, because you know what better way than to work with someone one-on-one. So I thought that would be very valuable, which is why I'm sharing this giveaway with you. But either way, comment below, let me know what you think about it. I really hope you end up entering, because I do get a lot of comments to help, and sometimes just trying to help via text, it gets a little muddy sometimes. You know, just being able to talk in a meeting is much easier than typing, if you can imagine. But anyway, just thought I'd leave that out there. But let's get through with this. After you think you've finished the required number of stitches, always double check and do a second count so that you should always do like a count after each row just to make sure that you're still where you are where you still need to be. I've sometimes not counted until I notice a problem, which by then is a little too late. And then you can eventually find the problem, but sometimes the problem's further down, which can be very disheartening. Alright, so I have the number of stitches I need, and I love this color, by the way. This is going to be one cute croissant. Alright, what you want to do next is we're going to start the next row, and it's very similar to casting on stitches. So we have X number of stitches on this needle, and to finish the row, we have to end up with the same number of stitches on this needle. And that's for this kit. There's other instructions where that's not always true, but just talking about this one. Okay, so stick your needle into the first stitch on here. Okay, get into your knit position. We're going to knit a stitch. All right. So once we're here where we used to put cast on stitches and we used to put the new loop onto the left, we're not going to do that this time. What we're going to do is, in theory, you gain a stitch, you lose a stitch. So what that means is we're going to take this loop that we just used and I'm going to slip it off the needle. Now you want to hold back your other stitches so you don't lose them as well. Just keep pushing that first stitch off the left needle to take that one out, and you'll be fine because you have the new stitch kind of holding that in place because we are doing the next row. All right, let me show you how to do that again. So stick your needle into the next stitch here, get into your knit position. We're going to do a knit stitch. All right, and once you get through this point, again, we're going to gain a stitch, but we're going to remove a stitch on this needle. So just slide that stitch off the needle. So now we have two here. Let me show you this one more time. So stick your needle into the next stitch, get into your knit position. We're going to knit a stitch, and then once we're here, we gained a stitch, we're going to lose a stitch. So slip that stitch we used off the left needle. All right, so from this point you can go and rewind the video if you like, but I'm going to move forward with the rest of the stitching and then we'll come back for the next set of instructions. And again, once you do a bunch of these, you're going to become a pro, I promise. It's going to be very shaky and very difficult in the beginning. So, I mean, I've been doing this for, you could probably say 20 years. You know, so as a hobbyist, not for a job, but this is really great, relaxing, and once you get the hang of it, you don't even have to look. Like, it's that auto motion that allows you to kind of do this without looking. So comment below whenever down the road when you get to that point, because it's always exciting for me, because then you're opened up to do a lot more other things. I like to multitask, so I'll watch a movie while doing this. All right, so once you've completed all those stitches, now you have all your stitches to the right, which means you have nothing on the left. So that means now that we have to start a new row. And to do that is we're just going to switch needles on your hands. So what you want to do is put down the left. We're going to flip this right needle over like this to the left. All right, and you always want to situate your stitches because you don't want it coiled like this. Back in the day, I was not looking, and I ended up somehow knitting this whole thing, and then it got a kink in it, and I was like, wait, what? Anyway, so always make sure that it's down like this. Okay, so I'm just going to gather up a little bit more yarn. And at this point now, I think you guys are really good to move forward without me going through each row. If you really need that additional help, always rewind this video. But what I'm going to show you now, it's the same thing. Right, let's do the first stitch together. Just stick your needle into the first stitch here. We're going to yarn over and then knit our stitch. And then again, you gain one, you lose one. So hold the other stitches back and slide that one off. So it's the same thing that we did. So now that we know this much, I'm gonna move on ahead. The instructions say to make it a certain length, and what I want you to do is create that length. It does give you an approximate number of rows that you need to create. The only problem is when you're a beginner, everyone's going to have a different kind of size stitching when you start out. And even your own stitches, they're not going to be as uniform as mine. And sometimes mine are not always uniform. So rather than rely on the number of rows they tell you to make, you definitely want to at least make sure that it's the length that it tells you, because when we construct this, you really want that size to be correct. So whatever we do, it at least end up looking the same size that they intended this project to be, if that makes any sense. But I'm going to move forward with this project in silence, and then I'll pop back in to show you how to cast off. Okay, so I made it to the length that they are asking, and I'm going to show you now how to fasten off. So what you want to do is we're going to knit 2 stitches. So go ahead and do your 2 knit stitches. Now from here, what you want to do is take your left needle, we're going to put it into the first stitch down here, and we're going to leapfrog it over the right, over the next stitch, and then off the right needle. But make sure you don't lose that other one. So just like that. And then remove this stitch off the left. So do another knit stitch, because you're going to want to always have 2 stitches on your right needle. Again, pick up this stitch here with the left needle, and we're going to leapfrog it over the next stitch, and we're going to move that off the right needle, still keeping that stitch there, and remove off the left needle. So let me show you this one more time. Knit 1 more stitch. Hopefully maybe I can find a better angle, but put your left needle into this stitch here. We're going to leapfrog it over the next stitch, and we're going to slide this off the right needle and then off the left needle. Alright, so then you just have to continue that down the line here, and then I'll show you what to do with the last loop. This one I find kind of fun. It's pretty cool. So like I said before, when you gain a stitch, you lose a stitch. In this case, to cast off, you have to lose all the stitches. So you just have to maintain the 2 stitches on the right stitch so that you can leapfrog it over, and then you just keep doing that until you reach the last stitch. Okay, so now that we have this last stitch left, what you do to remove this one is we're going to just cut this down a bit. I'm going to do about a couple inches or so. Okay, then what you want to do is yarn over that needle. You can hold it with your 2 fingers here. We're going to take our left needle and we're going to leapfrog this stitch over the yarn over and off the right needle. You can take your left needle out. What we're going to go from here is just pull that yarn all the way out. Put down your right needle, and then we're just going to tighten this stitch so it creates a knot, and then you can weave this end. I'm going to try to possibly sew it, or actually grab out your everything here, I guess, because the next part is the construction. I'm going to take the needle and thread my yarn on here. And then you just weave this in. I'm going to kind of because there's forming like a gap here, and I want to close that in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just weave in and out on the sides here with my needle. Make sure you have it go down far enough so that there's so that it gets completely hidden into your project. Right, and I actually don't think so we're pulling, and then you want to pinch this end just to keep it stable so that you can pull the rest out. I just got a little bit more, so I'm going to continue my weaving all the way down here. Okay, pinch the end again, and pull that all the way through the other side there. So now that's hidden. On to construction, you guys. Comment below, let me know how it's going. Alright, so hopefully I can do this because this looks a little complicated. But I'm going to start by we gotta position this square like it's a diamond. So we're going to do this, and then we have to kind of roll the tops on each other. Let me thread up my needle. Okay. I'm going to do something like that, make it look like a croissant. I want that little lap. Alright, so now we're just going to sew a little V thing here. Now, there's going to be a little, I'm going to use straight stitches, and we're going to end up coming back around for this one here. And what I mean by that is, once we go up, we're going to go back down to make the other side. We've got to go back and go up this way. Now from here, we've just got to stitch the edges together. So right, let's do that now. And I'm going to use the I don't know what it's called, I'm not a sewer. But instead of straight stitches, we're just going to go over like that. So let me do this. Let's see how much we have left. We're going to come back in, do the other side, and we'll figure out something. So let me just do this in silence. Alright, so I want to get to this other side, but I don't think it's gonna be enough, even though it's deceiving a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is just tie this off, and I'm gonna get some of my yarn here just to do the other side. So tie your knot somewhere. Again, I'm not a sewer, so I just make it, fake it. And then to hide it, I just take the needle, put it in the project, and I'm gonna fish it through the other side here. So watch that disappear. And then so that I don't have to worry about waste, I'm just gonna stick that in there and use it as filling. Then I could come back in with this piece here. Cut it down. And then I can thread this up. Now obviously we have to stuff it, so let me just look ahead in the instructions first and see how they're going to go about this. Alright, so they have you stuffing before you do this side. So what I'm going to want to do though is shape the stuffing. Just, I mean, later you can kind of manipulate it to shape like a croissant, but I'm just going to do that now so that when I have to work it later, it won't be too crazy. So slip this in. Alright. Then what I'm going to do is start here. So take these two ends here, line them up. I'm going to put our first stitch in here. And because it's loose, I'm just going to tie a knot. Double knot. And then you can tuck this piece inside. And then we're going to continue sewing. So try not to sew the stuffing together, but we're going to line this up and sew these two pieces together. But let me do that in silence. Alright, so now comes the somewhat difficult part. So I have my croissant here, and it looks like the face is going to be about here with this flap. You know what's so crazy? It's really hard to see, but anyway, so what you're going to want to do is slip this needle through one corner, right? And we're just going to fish it kind of through the middle and out the other corner. Okay, and once you have that, you can pull this through. Now what you have to do is kind of pull it to where it starts to bend. So it's going to start bending on this side more than this side. You just kind of got to manipulate it to bend in the direction that you want it to go. So something like that. And then when you get to this point here, we have it nice and curved. You want to find a moment to tie a knot. And then we're going to hide this piece by going back into our project, coming out randomly into a spot. And then we're just going to cut this flush to the surface of your project. Squish it to make that end disappear. Alright, so now we have this natural fold. So this is going to become your croissant. This little flap, I guess I contorted this a little bit, or maybe it wasn't a perfect square, but it's giving me like a side part. It's fine. But this is where you're going to be putting the eyes. So let's start with the mouth so you can find your center. I'm going to put this right in the middle here. You want to press it down and hold it for a few seconds. You want to make sure that the sticky sticks on much of the surface as possible. If you can, it does say to embroider the edges so that it's secure. And then let's do the eyes. Again, press and hold for a few seconds. And then we're going to put in the other eye, try to line it up. And I guess the side part actually works, but so you want to do something like this. Again, the only problem is when you look the other side, a lot of this surface isn't going to be used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. I highly recommend that you find an adult if you are a little one or unsure of using an X-Acto knife. And I'm going to just cut this part, I guess the brim of the beret. This is called a beret if you're unfamiliar with hats. So I've cut that piece out, and I'm just going to take this, find the side, see like it parts this way. I think that's so cute, but I'm gonna lie this here, and I'm going to press it down a few seconds, making sure that that stickiness is touching as much of the yarn as possible, and holding it down so that it's a nice good stick. And then, you guys, we are done with Madame Croissant. I'm going to put all this stuff back into the baggie. Again, always save your tools from the kits. You never know if you're going to need them. You can always give them away. Let's put this in here too. I love this color. It does look like a croissant, but if you want to further the perfection of this croissant, I would go to a hobby store, get a yarn that's a little bit darker, and then use it to sew in some detail. I think that would make it look really cute. Especially, you know, on a croissant, they have the little lines that circle around because they essentially roll the dough. I think that would look really cute. So here is the end result, you guys. Check it out. Comment below. Let me know what you think of my Madame Croissant. So, okay, so again, you guys, if you would like to enter into my special giveaway, go ahead to the description box and click on my original channel. I just accidentally ended up doing nails and crafts, and I really want to split that into just this channel for crafts. Eventually that will happen down the road, but I am offering a special giveaway. There'll be 2 winners. I post a video to enter every Tuesday and close the voting till the end of Wednesday Eastern time. And what else can I say about it? You have to be publicly subscribed, and it's for the remaining 18 weeks. So it's an 18-week NFL season. You basically just have to pick out of the 2 nails that I post who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. If you are correct, that is considered an entry, and it's a opportunity to, you know, get a winning streak or not. So it's very possible to end up winning the whole thing. But like I said, there's going to be 2 winners, 1 nail winner, 1 craft winner, and the reward is a bunch of goodies, a gift card, and then 1 hour session on StreamYard to kind of share your work that you're needing some help on. And then I also give some channel help as well if you have your own channel. But yeah, so I am going to be continuing with more knit kits from Five Below. I have a ton of other stuff as well, so I am kind of trying to mix it in all together. But I am getting a flood of some Five Below kits, so you will be seeing that in the near future. Again, if there's anything that you want me to make a video of and you don't want to wait for me to find it, so comment below. You can also email me a clear image of that instruction so that I can try to replicate and help you out. And yeah, so I think that's all of what I need to say for this channel. So thank you guys so much. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.